What is he doing?
He's beginning to believe.
Hi everyone, welcome to Kryptalk, that Irish guy that talks about Bitcoin. I'm going to do things a little different today. So I've got a very good friend of mine, Kieran, here, and we are both Bitcoin nerds. We talk about Bitcoin and sometimes altcoins. Kieran's very, very good at finding these undervalued altcoins. He was the man who told me to buy POLKADOT, so I did at $8, and now as of today it's worth like 33 or 34, so I owe him a pint or two. Kieran, how are you?
Great, thank you. Yeah,
Of course you're great. Look at the price of that.
I know, we're only getting started, really.
So we kind of usually just do these Zooms and just have a chat about Bitcoin and crypto and stuff like that because we're both into it. So we're kind of going to keep that format for today instead of making a planned video and stuff like that. You're obviously really, really good at researching things, and I do value your opinion, hence I took your advice on that. But so just a few questions, but we'll kind of keep a free flow as well, but just kind of a few questions, a bit of structure. So just how did you get into Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies?
Oh God, well, I mean, I know that the first time, crazily, the very, very first time I actually heard the word Bitcoin was when we had a conversation years ago. I think it was the run up to Christmas 2017, 18, when I think I found out you had managed to drop a bit of money in on Bitcoin at one stage. I was thinking, how much did you spend? What the hell? Wait, what did you buy?
I remember you giving out to me about that. Yeah.
What is this like, fantastic magic, money that you bought online? And I was obviously at the start, you think it's sensational. You think, what the hell? But that's going from never even really having heard the word, which obviously saddened about now, because the earlier you can get in, the better things get. But that was the first time I heard it. And I remember going home literally that weekend and starting to actually Google the word and try and figure out what things are, and just start to get, I guess, research mode started there. From there, it just became a case of, I suppose I dipped my toe in the water relatively quick. Wasn't, obviously, looking back at it now, a very, very good time to be buying, because you're buying on the very last kind of wave of that bull run. Obviously now we're all in significant profits, even from purchases at that time.
Isn't that mad? That
oh yeah,
if at the end of that bull run that went up to nearly $20,000, and we're like, oh damn, that's the end of the bull run, where you would take $20,000 today in a heartbeat, like.
Oh, this is it.
As in, like, I want to preface that, or kind of a bit of clarity on that. I don't have $20,000 just to buy a Bitcoin, like. But if Bitcoin was worth $20,000 and you want to buy like 0.1 and you $2,000, that's probably doable, like.
Oh yeah.
As in, and I think for a lot of people who are working, that's probably, you can buy decimals. People still think that
that's the key thing again. You're buying it in satoshis, you're buying it in fractions. Is it 100 million? I must admit, I can't remember the specific exact.
Yeah, 100 million. Yeah.
But I think it's, yeah. So you putting in a small amount every paycheck or every couple of weeks or whenever you can is just one of the best ways to get started. You don't even have to think about it. It's 2 or 3 coffees a week maximum you're sacrificing if you want to do it that way, or it's a very small impact, but it can have such a big effect in the long run.
Absolutely, yeah. And would you dollar cost average now, or would you?
For me, yes is the answer. As of the last couple of months, just due to life stuff and with the UK, because I'm obviously based in the UK, with a lot of the exchanges being banned, with the withdrawals and deposits from the banks, it's suited with life experiences anyway and everything else, just to take a little break from adding more fiat in. Like, I was happy with what I kind of had in at the time, and I wanted to move that around between Bitcoin and some of the alts to kind of grow my bags, as opposed to continuously adding new fiat. But for a very long time, it was just a general stable, a little bit of money going in every month, timing that with a little bit of buying extra dips and stuff, and putting a little bit more in when it felt like the right time. But moving into this last 3 to 4 months, that maybe 4 to 5 max, that I feel like we've got left in this kind of bull run, I'm probably not going to put in much more fiat, because I just think we're going to get a lot more value out of it in the next couple of years when it crashes again. Yeah,
that's a brilliant point, because I had a comment on one of my videos a few months ago saying, yeah, but dollar cost averaging isn't going to work when the price crosses. And I just thought to myself, who is this absolute genius? So that's someone who doesn't understand dollar cost averaging at all. And I did respond and I said, actually, something like, I think it was like, thanks for the comment, whatever, but dollar cost averaging actually works better when the price is crashing.
Yeah.
And then this person's response, I presume it was a he, it just sounded like a he. I don't know, it could have been a she or a they, I don't know, but it sounded like a he. But this person said, what was it? Yeah, but you're assuming the price is going to go up. And it's like, yeah, kind of built the channel around it. So yeah, as again, and it's not even a think or an emotional thing.
Macro scale.
Done your research. Just look at the trend line, like.
Yeah.
But it's dollar cost averaging through a bear market. That is the way to go, like. And it's the hardest thing to do because you're buying when there's blood in the streets. You're buying when it's the price is decreasing, and you're thinking, what happens if I'm wrong? There's always that part of your brain that will logically and protect you and say, what if you're wrong? Because if you get arrogant, that's game over. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, one thing I kind of learned like recently with it is not even recently learned, I suppose it's more just kind of for the newer people coming into space or anything like that, like, or someone who doesn't know or doesn't have the time to research or maybe can't be arsed or just not really their thing. Like the small thing you can do of you can even dollar cost average in blind. You don't even have to start researching it. Wait till it hits the mainstream and then you go, oh, maybe I should start learning about this. But if you slowly put in that little bit of money over time, you don't even have to do that without putting in any extra time to learn a ton about. It's just more of a very small little savings account that's going to hedge against all of this, in the future. I think I heard a fact the other day, I'm almost positive it was that if you basically, all you got to do is buy Bitcoin, hold it for 2 to 3 years, and you will be in profit. So far, that has not been, I think you could have bought it at almost any time. And I think it was 3 years later. I think that was the stat. It was something like 3 years later, you're going to be up money. It's
basically every single high point you could have bought at them and still have been up, with the exception of the all-time high.
Yeah.
Anyone? You said there's something about like going in blind. What you mean by that? Like there's like dollar cost averaging.
Well, as in like I've heard, because I've kind of obviously shared my thoughts on the space with like friends, family, co-workers and stuff, just to more educate, to say, look, I would feel bad if I didn't tell you about this thing that I found out about that's working for me. Here's some basic information. Go away and do some research if you want to. But some response I've had is that, I don't have time to start researching and figuring out how these things work, different things. And like, that's fine. If you don't have the time, you don't have the time. So my point being, but
they're putting their trust in you. They're putting their trust in you.
Yeah. And I mean, like, but that's it. They are. But sometimes they say I don't have the time, and that's the reason they won't buy it. And I'm trying to get across the point that you can get an app like Coinbase, especially, where obviously there's a little bit of more of a fee on it, but it's a few clicks and you've done it, and you don't even have to think any further. Literally, once a month, you go on, you spend 5 minutes, you press a few buttons. You bought your little bit, forget about it, go on about your life. You don't even have to hear the letters.
And Coinbase gets an awful lot of slack, but I've yet to find an app that is as user friendly. I have used Coinbase, I have used BitOasis, I have used Kraken, I have used Bybit, and I've used I think it's Coinify. But in terms of like user friendliness, it is the gateway drug, I suppose, to exchanges. It's definitely not the best though. I find they all do different things good, but there's probably no one exchange that has the cheapest fees and the best app and the best whatever, so that's interesting you say that. It's funny how like the people that go in blind are often the people that will cash out, and then they'll be the ones, suddenly they'll be the experts. It's like you'll have these people, they'll FOMO in. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know, say, like, what a Satoshi is. They don't know what the halving is. They don't know what decentralized means. They don't know the amount of Bitcoin circulating at the moment, or the amount that none of that information. They're just like, oh, the price is going up. Yeah, Kieran told me this, I'm going to do this. And that's great if you're putting your trust in someone, but they're FOMOing in. And when they sell, even if the price is continuing upwards, it's like that kind of like a bit of a chip in the shoulder going, oh, it's game over. It's all going to crash. It's like they don't want to see. there's a bit of jealousy there, I think, as well.
I know.
I've
Yeah, I suppose you have
definitely met
everybody
people like
for
that,
one.
like, which, you know,
Yeah, I guess you just have to kind of like, from my perspective, it's the reason I tell them about it or try and suggest what I suggest is just for me. It's literally so that I've done my part and I can be like, off you go. And it's totally fine if people, whatever way they want to respond to it, like, I try and let them know, obviously, if there's obviously risks involved with anything. I mean, let's
yeah,
be honest, the biggest risk at the minute is holding way too much cash for too long. That's actually the bigger risk. So, with the fact that, the value of it is depreciating dramatically, and I think we're going to have a good number of years in a lot of the world with heavy levels of inflation everywhere, because we've been, the Fed, not just the Fed, but obviously the EU as well. Everything has been, money has been flying onto the market, new fresh printed money like there's no tomorrow. There's, I think, look, I'm not going to quote it because I can't remember the stats, but the amount of money that's been printed in the last year to two, it's, if you look at the graph, it's basically it's the type of chart that we want to see for Bitcoin for the next
25% of the world's dollars were printed in 2020. I think that's,
yeah.
I think
I
that,
you
I
know I
think
think
that's,
honestly,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's gotten even bigger now. I think it's a parabolic chart basically. When you look at it, it's disgusting.
Because you used to be able to go on and look at that. I think it was the M1 money chart. And
Okay.
then they suddenly stopped the data because almost they didn't want to see people watching it anymore. But again, the same guy, Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve in the States, he came out recently and said that the US have no intention, that's quotes,
Mm,
of copying China's move. And like
mm.
China, I think people don't realize that China always had Bitcoin banned as a form of currency, but it was just a hub for mining. But
Yeah.
like the biggest, they were basically had the majority monopoly on mining, and then now they're not allowed to mine in China anymore, and it's still a thing. Like it's $56,000.
It's
Like
I heard something very interesting yesterday on this, and like obviously we know China has banned Bitcoin, China's banned Facebook, China's banned everything. Like they have their own WhatsApp, Facebook, everything. Like the whole, it's a very interesting country. But I did hear a good fact about the China mining ban, and I think it's like looking at it as a realistic positive for the whole space, because now I think Texas as well, like massive state, has picked up a huge amount of mining, the Bitcoin mining. So obviously, not only now are we spreading the mining elsewhere around the world, but with there being an on land mining kind of rig in the States, that creates jobs, that creates other aspects, which makes it harder for countries like the US to suddenly put in really, really harsh bans and harsh regulations that decimate jobs, because they already have jobs on the ground
yeah,
physically working in the country on this. So it helps. It's a small step, I'm sure, but it helps solidify kind of the idea right there on their home soil.
yeah. It's a funny one about the energy as well. Like the whole oh, Bitcoin uses a lot of electricity argument
Yeah,
is just so ridiculous. So does a washing machine.
yeah.
So
It's
does a
a three-letter
dryer.
word,
So does a,
isn't it?
I don't know, a toaster, whatever. Like it's, I think it's 53% of all the Bitcoin mining is done from renewable resource, and then up to 70% has like part of it is renewable
Yeah,
and parts of like fossil, whatever, and then the rest. But it's gradually getting actually greener. El
yeah,
Salvador are
yeah.
now using heat. I love
Volcano.
this story.
Yeah.
Heat from a geothermal energy from a volcano to mine Bitcoin.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
think that's class.
But
That's just like
is it
science
not
and
a sign of the future? Like, is it not a
yeah,
sign of
exactly. Yeah,
using the waste energy of the world
yeah,
for
yeah.
creating digital energy?
And
Is
I
that not
presume like
just
say so paper or money, whether it's paper, type of plastic, whatever. I'm assuming like the printing companies has a massive carbon footprint as well. Like, so
absolutely?
it's like you're criminalizing. You're saying, oh, Bitcoin has a lot of energy there. Like, it's global warming is not Bitcoin's fault. Like global warming
Mm.
started with the Industrial Revolution like 200 years ago,
Yeah,
whatever. So it's,
but
but
you know
like,
what it's like. It's the FUD that comes in. It's one of the stories that adds to
yeah,
it.
yeah,
There's like, and it's rather throwing the word manipulation in there. It's obviously a thing. It is ripen. It's rampant through the space for so long. It appears in stocks in different ways, doesn't it? Not quite as heavily, obviously, not quite as drastically, but something new and emerging like crypto. There's going to be people with vested interests out there to dump prices, to
oh,
do different stuff
100%.
like that. They're trying to fudge how it's no coincidence that these things reappear just as China are renewing or releasing, the Chinese, the C
The digital
CBDC,
the
because
one the digital currency, yeah,
one,
it's
yeah,
yeah,
because they
absolutely,
want,
yeah. But
so
China and any other country that released their own digital currency are completely missing the point. And
absolutely.
you know why it is, like.
It's just their digital dollar is just the same. It's just the dollars you have in your pocket, except now it's no longer in your pocket. It's in your bank. That's
In your wallet.
completely different.
That's actually, speaking about wallets. Yeah, Kieran is the man who not only told me about Dot. Like, I have a kind of a rule of three when it comes to bands, or a book or a particular TV show or a movie. I kind of need three people that I respect and I respect their taste to recommend that band three times or that movie three times or that book before I actually commit to spending time watching it or reading it. So Kieran recommended Dot, and then another Crypto Zombie, one of the YouTubers that I haven't seen him in ages.
Actually, now that you mention that, I haven't either. That's kind of
That's
worrying.
mental. Like, yeah, I hope he's all right. Like, cause he's like
Holy
he's my favorite. Like, personally. Like, but there's a lot of great ones out there. But he recommended a lot, and I think Lark Davis, and then one of my other friends mentioned it as well. And I was like, right, I need to check this out. I think you were the final straw, or the third or whatever. So it's like, grand, this has to be done. But you also were the first person that told me about the Ledger, and I regularly plug that in my channel. Well, not really plug it. I do have an affiliate link for it, but it's like everyone should have a hardware wallet. Like,
I mean, put it this way, like the Ledger, I don't know what they're going for now, like, but they're
$50, and I think free worldwide delivery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the kind of thing that if you've got a couple $100 in, you can put whatever number on it you want, but if it's more, I suppose, if you got a plan to make this a longer term investment, whatever you're starting with, but if you're planning to start dollar costing in, buying different stuff like this, having a ledger for the longer term, critical. Hardware wallet, super easy.
Yeah.
Obviously you've got your codes, but just keeping that the currencies offline, safe, not hackable, basically.
Gotcha.
Obviously, whilst the risk is still very, very low on exchanges like Binance or like any of the others, for a hack to happen and the money to be stolen, it's still exceptionally low. And obviously they have their own policies in place to try and return the funds or everything else. But insurances, it's still better to have it in your own pocket, the same as you want.
Yeah, because I'd be thinking, like, I do have some Bitcoin in BlockFi because of the passive interest. Like you're saying earlier on about like not putting in more fiat, because it's grand when it's going down and you're getting great value. When it's going up, you're not getting so much value. There's easier ways. So obviously I would stake Polkadot and Kraken, and I would put some money in Bitcoin in BlockFi to earn that interest. But yeah, like you're saying, if that hacks, it could be a problem, because it's grand. You might be thinking, oh, if it hacks and you've like 10,000 in there, they should be paying it back and everything like that. But there's no guarantee. What if everyone gets hacked and they're down like millions and millions? They're not going to be able to refund that. Like, but
yeah, that's the risk, I suppose. The risk to reward you got to weigh up, and like, I mean, especially you mentioned BlockFi, like, highly recommended. Like, kind of play. It would still be my number one place to go as far as placing money, basically your Bitcoin bank. But like, you're earning better interest in the current bank, which is something like 0.001 or whatever ridiculous rates are going around at the moment.
I have to tell you a story. I have to tell you a quick story on that. So just in case anyone doesn't know, I don't even know, for like three people that will actually watch this. BlockFi, you put in Bitcoin, and they pay you interest in Bitcoin. They used to put it at a rate of 6% per year, but they're gradually dropping it down because it's getting so scarce they can't afford to do it anymore, which is a great sign, But on that story, like I just checked my BlockFi there. I only have like 0.1 or something inside in BlockFi because I like to keep all mine or most of mine on my ledger. I think I'll just check it now because it's really quickly there. So I think I've maybe 0.1, 0.2 Bitcoin or something like that inside there. But there's a few, it doesn't really matter. There's not that much in there really. And like the interest since I started doing this a year ago was like $800. Like I had, when I was saving for a house about a year or two ago, I had 10,000 in the bank because I was saving for deposit or whatever. And I think I told you this. One day I checked my statement and I had interest on it, €1. Like, this is why the banks are in trouble. Like, I mean, 88
Yeah.
Bank of Ireland banks closed today in Ireland. People are using like Revolut. People are turning to crypto. So some people, the guy, there's a podcast called What Bitcoin Did. That guy kept getting phone calls from his bank saying, "What's this transaction? What's this transaction?" Because he was obviously legitimately dealing and sorry, it sounds so skeptical when you say dealing, trading Bitcoin and making money on Bitcoin and all that. And I'm sure he was paying his taxes and everything. And they eventually just like sent him a letter. You've 28 days to get your money out. We're closing your account. His bank. They're supposed to work for him. So he got onto Revolut and he gets paid to Revolut now. That's his bank account. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah. Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize. Yeah.
It's deadly. Like, but it's I think a lot of people are going to try it. Apparently Revolut are looking to, I don't know if they've done this yet. I don't think they have, but I think they're looking to where you can not only buy and sell Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, but you can actually send Bitcoin from Revolut to another wallet, like a hardware wallet. I don't think you can do that yet, but I'm pretty sure. Am I wrong?
I don't know for sure.
I don't think you can do that yet, but I think that's in the works.
Yeah, because it was similar with PayPal, wasn't it? Where you could buy it, but you don't actually have the rights to own it, withdraw it yet. You
exactly
buy a share almost. Whereas I think PayPal have changed as well, so maybe they both changed it.
Yeah, sure. I'm pretty sure it's in the works because I had an inside line in that, but that's a story for not on the stream or whatever.
What did you do to get that into?
Asking for a mate. So, what's your Bitcoin goal? Like, what is, like, basically, I'm going to roll these two questions into one. I'm looking down here. I'm not texting. I'm actually looking at some notes and things I had written down.
Fair rude.
So,
fair rude.
yeah. So these are kind of the same question. What's your Bitcoin goal, or if you want to, what's your exit strategy? I get uncomfortable when people ask me because I don't really know. I have a rough idea, but I don't really know if I'll be able to execute said idea, or will I get a bit greedy?
I mean, absolutely. Like, firstly, obviously, trying to the exiting, taking the profits at the right time, whether you want to say exiting the market, whatever you want to call it, like timing the market is the hardest thing without any doubt. Like the stats on even the most experienced traders, like they say, if you get anywhere within the top 25% of like the top of the market, and if you buy anywhere near the bottom 25%, you're an expert. Like, as in they're saying you've nailed it. I mean, kind of thing. So I think the range is obviously quite large. Like, I mean, my goal with it is a long-term thing. Like, I feel like I'm always going to be in this space. Like, I'll never be fully out of the market, but I'm definitely going to have stages where I have a lot more in, or a lot more kind of not fully out. I suppose I would be using the money within, I suppose, the crypto space, but I would maybe be holding more stable type of currencies as opposed to the actual assets like Bitcoin or Ethereum themselves. The long-term goal, financial freedom, getting to a stage where perhaps maybe working part-time is an option, where you start to decide, actually, like, I'm funding half of what I want as a wage with passive income of some form in crypto and I'm thinking another cycle down the road type of thing, years down the road. So I suppose financial freedom will be the end goal, but
you'd like to live more and work less.
This is it. Yeah. Who wouldn't, who wouldn't? I suppose it's the freedom, isn't it? The freedom to do it. If you're working part-time, it gives you a lot more options to do more of whatever you want, really.
More playing guitar.
Yeah. This is it. I mean, there'd be, instead of 3 on the wall, it'd be a room full. So
that's a good option. Or I know that, but that's what it is. I was asked a question recently. It was kind of like, it was on I did this podcast with Shark Pod, these two Irish guys, and it's really good. Like,
I thought that actually,
some of their stuff is class. Some of the interviews they do. Actually, I haven't listened to one that I didn't like yet, but there's one with a mountain climber. It was just, he climbed Everest. He was class. Like, but they asked me the same question I'm going to ask you, but I'll ask you first because I want to tell you my answer.
Right.
I've like 3 more questions for you. But so, first of all, there's 2 prediction questions. So first of them is like, this one ties into the exit strategy. So how much money is enough money, like?
For life, for me, life, you mean, is it?
Like how much money is enough money?
How long's a piece of string?
But like as in like I'm not really well would you give me a number, or is it like do you know you mentioned part-time, or what
I
is financial
suppose
freedom is what I'm saying to you, like.
that's, I mean, it's a difficult one because I feel like at the moment I have enough money. Like I feel privileged and lucky as I am, you know, to kind of live within other than maybe not having to, I suppose if you could say, replace the 9 to 5 hours and wage with a same amount of money, but I'm not working the job. Perhaps that's the right amount of money, you know, so that
40,000 pounds a year and not have to work, basically.
Maybe that's the number.
Yeah, right. So multiply 40,000 pounds a year by
Absolutely.
your 30, you'll live another 50 years at least, and there's your number. I'd like to pay a mortgage off and just like, you know, even if you still had to work, like that'd be grand, because you know I'd like to stay occupied. But if like say if someone gave you the cost of your house now, and then you could just go, right, so what's the, like, let's say the balance on your house is, I don't know, 300,000 euro, and someone goes, here you go, that's done. So then when you're working, your cash is yours, and it's just you don't have to pay a mortgage or rent. And I think that'd be like, that's ultimate privilege, like, you mean, but I'd agree with you as in, like, you know, I'm happy in the situation I'm in, absolutely, like, but if you had that out, then it's kind of like, you know, it'd be a game changer, really, wouldn't it be?
Sure. I mean, it's a tricky one because I think the one factor in this kind of bull run coming up, especially now, like, I feel like we're going to start to feel is that, you know, the numbers are getting quite big. Like, you know, Bitcoin reaching 20K, obviously, and I know it's relative because people could have had 5 of them as opposed to maybe now they can only afford to get 1 in their hands.
Yeah,
not
absolutely,
even, but, you know, but the money is going to start to jump quite hard and quite fast, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see. I think we're going to have a lot of scared people as the money's going up as well. Like, as much as I want to be, you hear a lot of this, and again, I haven't been in the space to experience this yet, like this run up to a bull run, being in the space and understanding, like, again, obviously we're learning every day, but understanding a lot of the space. So this is going to be very interesting for me, especially, like, as well, first time really fully experiencing it. Being in it, being in the sentiment every time, seeing the crashes we have, feeling the absolute gut wrenching pain when you think, oh man, like the portfolios drop by, you know, X amount of percentages, and you see these changes that just comes with part and parcel of it all. But
like I heard story, like in 2017 when we were having a conversation, it was coming up to its all-time high at $20,000, and then over 2018 it basically slowly bled out until December 2018, a year after we had the initial conversation, and it went down as far as I think it was 3,500. Maybe it was actually lower, but pretty sure it was 3,500.
It's in around that, it was in around that.
So I mean, what's that percentage then? So that's basically, wouldn't that be the equivalent of Bitcoin today falling down to 20% of its worth now? So you're talking $11,000,
something like that. Yeah, I mean,
but $11,000, if that was the bottom, it would still be 3 times the last bottom.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like, I learned a valuable lesson already this run, where, you know, because you start to hear obviously a lot more institutional money coming in, the market's going to become a bit more stable, it's going to be impossible for Bitcoin to have these massive drawdowns, etc. Look at May, we had 55-60% drawdown
because of a tweet.
And that was, you know, added on top of a bit of FUD and a bit of this and a bit of that, and
it was
brutal.
Like, I don't know, it's there's people, like you said earlier on, there's people on the sidelines with like millions just waiting for the right moment to like just offload loads of Bitcoin, millions of worth of Bitcoin to just billions, even just gone.
What I'm thinking, I know obviously we had a lot of cascading liquidations and everything else that caused a lot of that problem, you know, like, and shaking out the market, etc. Some of it goes with it, but my point being, I think that is what changed my mind on part of my exit strategy for this cycle, because I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that when we have our blow off top, Bitcoin is going to settle 70 to 80% down from that blow off top in the next bear market. I have no doubt in my mind that 55-60% drawdown mid-cycle told me, because I was like, nah, 30%, we can't have these drops anymore. It's impossible.
Man.
I was like,
You're learning so much. I remember telling you, goes, this can still go down to X amount. You're like, nah, man, can't happen. But it could. It could. That leads us perfectly into the next question, right? So I have two more questions for you. Number one is, what's your prediction for this year? What do you think the highest point Bitcoin will reach by the 31st of December, New Year's Eve of 2021 this year?
okay, so I don't think the bull market will be over yet.
Okay.
First point, but I think we'll be in and around the 80 to 90K.
Yeah.
Just on a.
I would tend to agree with you.
I'm not a predictor. I really am a predictor. I'm just throwing out my educated guess.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I do think I actually okay. The last episode I had, I was saying that like between the 6th of October last year and New Year's Eve, it went from 10,000 to 30,000. That's a 3x. So the 6th of October this year was 55,000. So you get a 3x this year, which obviously there's no guarantee that would happen because it's a lot more money and it's not the same time. You're talking 165,000. I can't see that happening before the end of the year. Could I see 100,000? Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. But realistically, I don't think we're going to see $100,000 Bitcoin this year, personally.
Yeah.
I think at the upper scale, maybe low 90s. But look, I'm staying true to my $88,000 prediction. But who's ever going to pinpoint it? But like I
what do you think we're going to peak at this
cycle before 2024?
Well, as in this cycle, let's say. I mean, how much longer do you think is left in this bull run?
I think if we don't top out before the end of the year, we'll probably top out before next summer. Because I'm just basing that on like typically when the halving occurs, the next year after you get like your peak. So if the halving was last year, and there's a lot of ifs there. If it's going to happen similar, you're talking a peak the end of this year, possibly early next year. I think maybe we're going to top out Q3. I'm not a big fan of the stock to flow. But I'd say we. Siri, stop.
I don't know what that means. If you like, I can search the web for.
Stop.
I say we at Siri stop.
Stop.
That's the third person that's going to watch this stream.
Yeah, damn. Okay. I think it'll probably. Oh, it's a tough one. I do think we're going to hit $88,000, and I think that's conservative. Yeah. And I think we're going to top out. I'd say this peak will hit and we'll start going into bear market Q1 or 2 next year. And the biggest I can see is maybe 150, 160 thereabouts. But I don't think we're going to hit. What's the stock to flows? Is it 288,000 prediction before 2024?
I think that was the
I think that like it's funny. I'm saying these words and I'll probably eat them in another 2 years when it just goes and does that. Like who would if someone had told you Bitcoin was $55,000 like this time last year, you'd be like So I wouldn't rule that out either. So that's that's so you're going this year between 80 and 90,000, and you think we're going to top out next year?
I think we'll see the blow off top somewhere in Q1 next year.
Right.
And do you know what? I definitely think we'll see over 150.
Right. Okay. And
maybe 150 to 200, and I'd be like, poof.
The last prediction. Okay. Now again, like this is just for fun, really. So, in the next 10 years, is it going to collapse? Is it going to go to zero? Is it going to level out? Or do you think there's going to be another halving in 2024 or 2028 and it's just going to be like this stuff is so scarce, everyone will want it?
I think the technology is still going to be here. The space is going to have grown even more. Like Ethereum and everything that like what Ethereum kind of opened up and showed, and all the other projects, all the other like layer one kind of blockchains that have come in, it's going to be a mad world of where we have Google Chrome, Firefox, all the other things. You've got your choice of kind of ecosystems.
I get you. Yeah.
It's going to keep growing. So I think, oh God, it's definitely still going to be here. Like, and I think we're just going to follow the same type of technical trends that we're following already. Stock to flow is going to play a piece. Hasn't been invalidated yet. Obviously, he's the first person to say it himself. It's a guide, it's a gauge, it's a metric. It's not an exact science, So, I think we're still just going to follow certain trends, like we have. Like we're going to still be setting new highs. We're still going to be setting new
higher lows.
What's the bottom of the next bear market going to look like?
Yeah.
Obviously depends how high we get this cycle. If we have an 80% drawdown, that 80% drawdown all depends on how high we go.
Yeah. So if you go to 100k and your 80% drawdown brings you down to 20,000, you still have a $20,000 Bitcoin, and
Absolutely.
still people will be like, no, don't buy it, it's bad.
There's a lot. I saw something recently to do with trying to figure out the bear market bottom, and there's quite a lot of correlated data to do with the mid-cycle peak. There's always some form of mid-cycle where we have what we're kind of going through now, where we have a little bit of a lull before the next proper wave, the final wave. And with heavy support, I think previously it was I'm going to forget it, but it was to do with the support from that mid-cycle dip.
Right.
Ends up being the bottom of the following bear market.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's actually something I did an episode a few months ago, and it was like, I don't think we've ever had, say, a halving occurs, then Bitcoin tops out and hits an all-time high, and then you have a crash. Then a next halving occurs and you have an all-time high. We've never actually crashed down lower than the previous all-time high from the previous cycle. So it's kind of like what you're talking about there.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. 10 years, I think we're going to be in the hundreds of thousands, not 100,000 or 200,000. I think we're going to be like anywhere between 3 and 5. I had to stop myself saying 1 million there, like, because I just think it's outrageous, like, and you want to have some form of reality. But 300,000 could seem outrageous as well. But if you're talking 300,000 in the next 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. It's all to do, obviously, market cap, isn't it? How much money comes into the space, what it represents. When we have the introduction, which possibly this month, like the whole ETF, the exchange traded funds, you get things like money from pensions and different things like that moving in. All this money starts to have percentages put into Bitcoin. There's in the States, it's something like $90 trillion in pensions or something ridiculous. Right. When you start to look at that and you think there's 90 trillion in pensions, that's one aspect. And we have 2 trillion, 2-ish trillion, 2 and a bit in the total market cap of crypto at the moment. Thinking to yourself, a 10x from here or a 20x from here isn't really that insane. It's going to take time, and I think a decade. Yeah. It sounds mad, but the more you start to look at how much money's in the space, how much money has come into the space, and what the market is actually out there, as far as market cap.
Well, it did a 3x in the space of the last 3 months of last year. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then even like, how long did it take it from October to April? How many months is that? It's October, November. That's 7 months. I think it was actually start of April as well. It's probably actually closer to 6 months. It did a 6x.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know the numbers are bigger now, but the trend is the same. But any final thoughts there?
Dollar cost average.
Buy the
dips.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Start now.
Dollar cost. That's the thing. Like, just do a little experiment. I was speaking to a guy recently there, and he was like, I'm not sure about it. And I said, look, get set up on Coinbase, and every 2 weeks when you get paid, buy a tenner worth of Bitcoin. Do that for a year. So that's €260. I said, if you're not up by the end of the year, I'll give you €260 regardless of the Bitcoin, and you give me the Bitcoin you bought. So he can't lose.
Yeah.
So like, that's how confident I am, because if that Bitcoin is worth €100, and I'll still pay him the 260, I'll get the 100 because in time, I do believe it'll be worth more. Yeah. All right, it's a nice place to finish it. Thanks very much for the conversation, and we'll probably do this again Might even start doing like a regular thing and pick out different topics or something like that. Take a look at DOT or Ethereum or everything. So, folks, if I have to say it, I'd say there's literally... No, there can't be anyone watching by now. But like, if there is anyone watching out there, really do appreciate it. And if you could please like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're on like 325, 326. I think there's a few bots in there today. But massively appreciate it. Thank you very much. And as usual, Sláinte. Bye, 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 bye. That one wasn't bad. I'm leaving that bit in.